We're ready? All righty. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Oviedo City Council meeting. It is Monday, April 2nd, 2018. If everybody can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Oh, wait, I see a Boy Scout. How did he sneak in? Come on up front here, young man. You see, you shouldn't wear that uniform here. What's your name and why are you here?
I'm Neil Mighty. I'm here for, that's one of the things we do for Boy Scouts.
For a merit badge?
Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. So would you like to lead us in the pledge now that you're up here?
Sure.
Thank you. It's all yours.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Neil, thank you.
Oh, we got another one.
Thank you, Chief White. Oh, we had another one walk in. He was a smart one. He came in just a couple of minutes late.
Good evening, Council. If you'd like to join me in a word of prayer, please do so at this time. Father God, we thank you for all the blessings that you've bestowed on this community, Lord, and Lord, we pray for your continued protection of all our employees, our workers, all our city employees, our public safety. Lord, we pray for our active military service, all those names that are on the tribute at Oviedo in the Park, and the encouragement that we want to give their families for their service. Lord, we pray for our elected officials and ask for their good judgment at these proceedings tonight. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. All righty. We will call the meeting to order. As I mentioned earlier, it is Monday, April 2nd. It's approximately 6:31 p.m. We have no ceremonial items this evening. So our first order, and we have all members of council present. Our first item of business this evening is the approval of the minutes from March 5th, 2018 regular session. I'd like to entertain a motion to do so.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, it's a public comment portion of our meeting. Barbara, do we have any written requests? No, sir. We have no written requests this evening. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address council? Please do so at this time. Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to close public comment and move on to the consent agenda. That is items 4 through 8. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Could we pull off item 8 and discuss that separately?
Doesn't seem to be anybody looking to do that. Sorry. You're going to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would like to amend one of the, I don't know if I can just move that we amend one of the motions on there.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
I'd like to amend the motion, one of the motions, and that would be instead of us appointing ourselves as the Charter Review Committee, that perhaps we consider including...
You asked to pull it off. No one wanted to pull it off.
Okay, so nobody wants to discuss whether it is appropriate for us to be the ones to... Okay, there's no consensus to allow citizen participation.
We did that last week, didn't we? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
We
already
did.
had this discussion 3 times.
Okay, I thought we did.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you can't let that go, unanswered. Do you mind?
No. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda first? The consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion second. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Folks, we have had, in the last 14 years, 2 charter review committees appointed by citizens who reviewed this charter top to bottom. We had our city attorney last week said it's one of the cleanest ones he's ever seen. We have one issue that we need to address. One, there's multiple things in that charter. So, Councilwoman, why I respect that you want to do it. You sat on the first one. I was on it with you, and it's one item that we're looking. So I have no inclination to waste a whole couple months to have everybody review the whole charter when it's already been done twice by citizens committees and a couple times by us, and we have one issue. So that's it's not as she makes it seem. at all. It's one issue that we have to do, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Slater, hang on a second. Councilman Pollock, you have the floor.
Well, this is all about the entire consent agenda, correct?
Yeah, that's only
Okay.
anything on the consent agenda.
All right, I spoke to the city manager briefly on item number 4, just real quick. If we could try to figure out a way so that these things don't come to us, it's more of an administrative role. I mean, if we have to, we have to, but this item just seems like it's a big time. It consumes a lot of time for the city staff, and really has not a significant benefit coming to council.
For $636, I see that.
Right, and well, it's not just the money, but I mean, we've approved everything, and it's just they're bringing it back to us to say, okay, we're ready to take on the infrastructure. As for item 8, with the Charter Review Committee, I completely agree with Councilman Hankin. This is something that we're appointing ourselves because we're trying to get this on the ballot, and it's one item that we're trying to do for the August ballot, and to appoint a committee of citizens and to go through everything. I believe that we would not be able to make the timeline that we were looking for, and I think that's why we're doing it this way. I have no problem with citizens' input, and they can still provide input into this process when we have the public hearings. But just for the Charter Review Committee, I think that we just don't have the time, and that was my opinion on that. Other than that, everything else looked good.
All righty. Councilman Britton, anything?
Yeah, I guess I'll echo the comments on the charter review, but I also want to, since we're talking about consent agenda, we've got the road resurfacing plan in there is much lower than normal, and I believe Bobby is using some of the residuals from the budget to cover a larger paving project that is for Mitchell Hammock coming up later in the year. So I believe Bobby helped me, the paving index that came back shows us average street as rated as a 75 on a scale of 100, and we try to be above 60. Is that what our goal is? Yeah, so most of our roads are in really good shape, so that program's doing what it's intended to do.
Excellent. Thank you for pointing that out. Councilwoman?
Well, the timing issue, I acknowledge that is a genuine thing, and I do not necessarily object to us being participants in the Charter Review Committee. However, the timing situation is of our own making. The last review was in 2010. Our charter specifically says it must be reviewed every 5 years, so we just skipped it in 2015. So in 2015, there was no big emergency, we got to get this on the 2016 ballot. And then in 2016, there was no big emergency, we've got to get it on this one. And even in 2017, there was no emergency. So we go 3 years where there's plenty of time that we could have included a committee made up of citizens, yet all of a sudden there have been some political developments that make it seem like a great idea and an emergency to bring these up right now. I don't necessarily disagree with some of them, but I do think it would be a shame not to, as has historically been the tradition in Oviedo, to at least consider bringing some citizens onto the committee. So what happened with the CRA was it was the council, and the county looked at it and said, hey guys, you need to bring on 2 more people to bring a little balance to the group. So I know that a full-out Charter Review Committee made of citizens may not be able to accomplish the timing that everybody's interested, well, maybe not everybody, but most of us I'm interested in getting this accomplished as quickly as possible. But we could bring on 2 additional people and have a 7-member committee comprised of 5 people up here plus 2 who may not be as thoroughly impacted. I brought this up on December 4th, 2017, And I looked at the minutes, and it said that it was going to be a discussion item in February. We had 2 meetings in February. It wasn't a discussion item. Had it been, we may have been able to keep the process, what is, in my opinion, a little bit more pure and politically untainted. But the situation right now is such that what some people are considering one ballot item, I look at as 3. One is, should terms be increased from 2 years to 4 years? This has appeared on the ballot, I want to say 4 times in the past, and the citizens of Oviedo have consistently said no. And this time, the proposal is potentially, I mean, we're not even to the point of knowing what would be on the ballot.
Okay, shouldn't this be, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're going to talk about what's going to be on the ballot at a later date, so.
Well, is there any interest in trying to bring back some perceived integrity to the process by including people, trying to shift the balance so that
Okay,
there are 3 people who are sitting up here who will be directly impacted by the automatic extension of terms for 2 people sitting here. So the mayor and Mr. Henkin, according to this proposal, would magically get an extra year in office without the voters actually authorizing it. And it's not specifically, I mean, and the language can be clarified to say that. But at this time, that's not the proposal.
Hang on, we're not going to debate this whole thing all night. You're going to get one more bite at the apple, and then we're
Okay, so let's just, I really resent this. Everything's political. Folks, here's what happened. Back in December, nobody was talking about our charter. Our charter was very
I was
clean.
talking about our charter.
Hold on 1 second. And hold on, I have the floor. No one was talking, anybody, about this charter prior to Councilwoman bringing this up. She brings this up in December. None of us were talking about charter review. She was here for over a year, never talked about charter review. All of a sudden, this is how it went down. She comes up with, we need to talk about longer terms. I said, fine, I think that's a good idea. Let's look at it. And that's how it went on. There is nothing political here. The issue that we have to do it in August is because the supervisor of elections told us we have 41 amendments on the general election ballot. 41! So we didn't want to add another one. So we figured we'd put it in the primary. But the 4 of us weren't even talking about charter review, extending terms. Look, I've been here for 12 years. Extending my term, not extending my term, whatever. Okay? But this was the councilwoman's idea. And one issue, which is the terms and the extending of things. It's one question. Should not involve impaneling 9 people, 7 people, and letting them go through the whole charter, which is one of the cleanest ones out there. So, I mean, I have to, address some of the stuff coming because that's not correct. But we have 2 more bites at the apple. This is just appointing us as the review committee for one item. One item. That's it. Because if we did appoint a panel, the council is the one that says what items they look at. Just because you appoint a charter review committee doesn't say you can go tear the whole charter apart. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor. We pick the items that we think, based on staff's advice, city attorney's advice, and we've had the cleanest charter in the county, at least. It doesn't need anything else. It's been looked at multiple times, except this one issue. So are we going to waste people's time for 3 months, whatever? I've sat on one. Megan has sat on one. It takes a long time for one question. That's it. And if it's impacting you and you don't want the 4-year term, then just withdraw it. And we won't do it at all because I don't think anybody cares. 2, 4, whatever. I don't. We're doing it to try to save the people some money because every year we have an election that costs us $20-something thousand that we're trying to.
15,000 is the actual number.
Well, it doesn't matter. 20,000, 18, whatever.
Yeah, it's still
the
waste.
general point that we don't have to pay for the election. That's the only reason I agreed for it. If it could save the citizens the money and the county pays for it, then that's fine. But this is, everything is a big sinister political plot. That's your thinking. That's not the 4 of us is thinking. But I'm ready to move this.
Yeah, I will not add any fuel to the fire for this evening. I'll wait until we're going to discuss the item. All right, the motion on the table is to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. First public hearing, it's ordinance number 1668. That is the local administrative amendments to the Florida Building Code. Mr. Groot, can you read that by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, repealing Section 14-20 of the City of Oviedo Code of Ordinances regarding building codes, replacing said section with the Florida Building Code provided herein, adopting certain administrative amendments to Chapter 1 of the Florida Building Code, 6th edition, 2017, providing for a savings provision, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for implementing administrative actions and fees, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for conflict, providing for codification as well as correction of Scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And that's the orders by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor. The state of Florida updated the Florida Building Code effective January of this year. What the proposed ordinance does is revises the city's administrative building codes to reflect the 6th edition or the 2017 Florida Building Code. It's recommended that the City Council conduct a public hearing and adopt ordinance number 1668.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. At this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address council on ordinance number 1668? Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman
I'd like to
Henkin.
make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1668.
Second?
Motion second. Councilman Henkin, any discussion?
No, sir, it looks good.
Councilmember?
Always good to follow the Florida Building Code.
Councilmember Potluck.
Looks good.
Deputy Mayor?
Good.
All righty. Hearing no discussion, I will call the vote. All in favor of the motion to adopt ordinance number 1668, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving along, we're up to first reading of ordinances, and our first ordinance is number 1670. Yes, it is. Amendments to the Fire Prevention and Protection Code of Ordinances. Mr. Groot, can you read that by title only, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, substantially revising and amending Chapter 26 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oviedo regarding the adoption of the Florida Fire Prevention Code and related codes and manuals relating to fire safety and life safety, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for the regulation of fire alarms, providing for the regulation of gated communities, providing for the emergency prohibition of burning or the use of fireworks, and related matters, providing for penalties and remedies, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, codification, as well as the correction of Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. And that's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is actually very similar to the ordinance that you just adopted, except in this case, the state has updated the Florida Fire Prevention Code and also some of the manuals that go along with that code. And so what we have to do is follow suit and update our administrative fire prevention codes as well. And that's what this ordinance does. It updates our fire prevention, our administrative fire prevention codes. And so it's recommended the council schedule a public hearing for Monday, April 16, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. This time I'd like to entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing for ordinance number 1670 on April 16, 2018, here in the Oviedo City Council chambers at 400 Alexandria Boulevard, Oviedo, Florida, 32765 at approximately 6:30 p.m.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion from anyone?
Looks good.
Good.
Good. All righty. Hearing none, call the vote to schedule the public hearing for April 16th. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving along, we're up to resolutions. This is resolution number 3550-18, amendment to site development order 4515-16, The Strand. Mr. Cobb. A lot of feedback.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request to amend site development order number 455-16, which involves Lot A of Oviedo on the Park, which is the Strand development. Within the Strand development, you have 11,000 square feet in two of the buildings that is designated as an office use. The applicant is requesting that the allowable uses be expanded to include other commercial uses that are allowed within the new downtown village core zoning districts, and also is requested that multifamily residential also be a permissible use within the 11,000, I think it's 827 square feet. The staff has reviewed 11,868 square feet. The staff has reviewed the request, and the staff recommends approval of expanding the commercial uses that can be allowed within the 11,868 square feet. However, staff does not recommend including multifamily residential as a permissible use within that area. The site development order is written to reflect staff's recommendation. If the City Council wishes to include the multifamily residential request in the mix, it will need to do so through its motion and request that the site development order be amended to include those uses. It's recommended that the Council adopt Resolution Number 3550-18.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Applicant is present. Would you like to make a presentation?
Sure. Tom Cavanaugh, Oviedo in the Park, Strand. I agree with everything that staff has said except for the elimination of the residential. We're experiencing some financing issues and some questions coming from my bank as it relates to what's the end game here, Tom. Difficult time renting the office. I get it. We're going to expand the uses. We're going to give it our best effort. But at the end of the day, I've got to make sure that this is successful for everybody. Council, the citizens, my banks, my organization. It just can't sit there and die on the vine, for lack of a better word. We know that the residential component is successful. They're selling condos around the neighborhood. We're renting apartments around the neighborhood. So that is the end game as far as my financing sources are concerned. Like I said, I don't mind giving it best efforts. I don't mind busting my rear end for the next 6 months. But at the end of the day, the market's going to dictate what can go there. And all I'm asking for is let the market dictate what's going to go there. I will keep doing what I'm doing for a specified time frame, but at the end of the day, I've got to be able to pay my bills. So again, reiterating, I'm in agreement with expanding the uses. I'm in agreement with giving the best effort. If staff is concerned that this will no longer meet the, how should I say, multiple uses, I will agree to limit the residential to maybe no more than 75%, so we can continue to have that mixed use element there. I will also put a time frame on it. I'm not going to go out tomorrow and try to rent them. I'm not going to go out tomorrow and sell it. I have an obligation to this council and to the citizens of Oviedo to try to make it work. So if we got a 6-month period and I'm out there trying to make it work and I can't, I just want a little relief that says, let's go rent them, let's get the cash flow coming in, and give me an opportunity to pay my bills. With that said, I'll turn it back over to council. I'm here to answer any and all questions you might have.
Thank you, Tom.
Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Just real quick, you said something that sparked my attention with the 75% or the percentage. Are you talking percentage of just the...
Yes.
Just the ones that were the bottom floor, or are you talking about of the entire building?
Right. If you read the staff report, there's big bold letters that said it may violate some mixed use. I look at the whole project, and we have plenty of mixed use. We got 14,000 square foot of retail that's leased. It's not a problem. So my personal opinion, it meets the definition of mixed use. But the focal point right now is for the 11,000 square feet of office that we've been trying to lease for a year now and don't have a single lease. So broadening the definition of what the uses can be will help. I'm just not smart enough to tell you because I can't predict market conditions of how much it's going to help. But to help me out with my financing sources, because I've got a loan that matures in 6 months, I just can't go to them when they ask me the question, well, what are you going to do if you can't lease the 11,000 square feet? I don't know. I can't give them that excuse. I got to be able to tell them, I'm going to try my best efforts. If it doesn't work, we know we can rent them. We know we can sell them. That's the end game. That's what my investors, my financing entities want to hear come out of my mouth.
Sell them as in residential?
Sure. There's a fairly robust residential market down there in the for sale side of the equation.
And they're not sellable through commercial or non-residential use?
Well, they can't be sold at all right now. The only approved use is straight rental office. And that's what the amendment to the SDO allows, to broaden it to other classifications. I originally asked staff to include residential as one of those classifications. They came back and said, we'll agree with everything except we don't want residential.
And this worked over in the other area because of the way it was designed, and it's just not working over in this strand?
Well, by the other area, if you're referring to the retail component we have, I can't, way it's approved right now, I can't even put retail in there.
Okay. But under this, you would be able to?
Yes. And it'll help. I just don't know to what degree it will help. But if I use my best efforts in 6 months from now and everything's rented to retail, this is a non-conversation. Everybody's happy. I'm paying my bills. It's, you know, it really only is a last resort if we're playing the what-if game. What if we broaden the classification of uses? What if I can't rent them 6 months down the road? Whatever the time frame is. I just want to be able to tell people, to tell my bankers, tell my partners that our insurance policy, for lack of a better word, is we know we can rent them. They're renting out there. All right? We know we can sell them. The single-family guys are selling condos, townhomes, whatever you want to call them. So that's kind of the insurance policy that I would like to see.
Tom, 11,868 square feet. How many units is that? 10?
No, our average size unit is about 1,000 square feet, but if it goes for sale, it won't be 1,000. If it goes for sale, it'll be closer to 1,500. The way the building is laid out is because of breezeways, because of demising walls, the way it's set up, I can run from about 900 to 1,200 square feet, or I can double that. So they're individual bays. There's 6 individual bays there, basically.
So the point I'm trying to make is 12,000 square feet. So you're talking this is a very minimal amount of units.
If I converted them all to the same apartments that are out there, it would be 11 units.
11 units.
Yes.
So I guess what I'm hearing you saying, you'll go out and give it a whirl for another couple months, and if it don't work, you want to have an option to put 11 units to get this done and be done with it.
No more than 11 units, yes.
Right.
You know, it could be something less than that.
And aren't we like so much less than the original plan, like total units out there right now?
Oh, yeah.
Way below.
Way below.
Way below.
Way below.
Well, my preference was don't give up. I mean, you'll know. I mean, you got all these things. I mean, keep trying. Try to get the office. I mean, if it's not easy and you're getting in a bind and it's, you've been doing it for a year and you're doing it for another year and it's empty, then maybe consider it.
Truth of the matter is the economics work much better on the commercial, and I use commercial as the umbrella. That can mean retail. It can mean the civic. All the approved uses than I do renting it as rental. The economics are better, so I'm incentivized to keep going.
You got a list of all the people you've been trying. I just say give them the councilwoman. She's very persuasive, and she'll lock them.
You know, I wish. You know, one classical example is we're talking to a yoga studio. Under the current approval, I can't put a yoga studio in there at all. So it'll help. I'm not saying it's not gonna help. I'm just, and anytime you take a classification from 1 and broaden it to 15, you know, it should help. I'm just not smart enough to tell you how much just yet.
All righty. If we have any other questions, we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no request to speak forms on this. Is there anybody who wants to address council? Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the meeting and go on to the pleasure of council. Let's get a motion on the table so we can have a discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I propose we adopt Resolution 3550-18.
Motion, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Council member, you made the motion, you're on the floor.
Though it sounds like just 11 units may be it from the people who do not live in the apartments perspective. There are a lot of apartments there. Are these, I should have asked this when you were up, are these all ground level units that would be created at the end of the day? I'm inclined for now to hold off on getting excited about that, but if you come back in 6 months and truly cannot get anything to go in there that fits better with what the expectations of the residents of Oviedo are, ground level units are something that I think are highly needed in this town. So that might be the only thing that could get me excited about this insurance policy idea of yours. But at this time, it does not sound like you have any immediate loan obligations. You're not in any big danger right now. And summer's coming, so this might be a good time to go ahead and lease it out to some creative businesses. And the live work is in the mix too. That I thought was, I don't know if anybody out in the audience has read the materials, but I thought live work was really interesting, and a hotel component. So there's a lot of flexibility with the proposal coming from staff.
Okay, thank you. Who was the second? Keith?
That was the
Deputy
second.
Mayor?
Yeah, I don't, I'm not against you, Tom. In fact, I would say go give it your best effort and come back in 5 months and say, I've failed, and talk to us again. But I got to believe with everything that's going on with medical centers going in, there's got to be a need for some more office space or retail. If we're letting you do retail, I don't mind that either. So I'm not against you. I want you to be successful. But I think for now, why don't we go and put our thinking caps on?
All right.
And I guess my question is, these are all just bare units, right? Just open spaces right now?
Yes, they're currently pre-wired and set up for air. There's air conditioning in them, there's electrical in them, all the water, sewer stub outs, and we were smart enough to put the infrastructure in to convert these to residential units with little or no pain.
Okay.
And getting back to both your comments, the only thing it does for me when you say come back in 6 months, and I appreciate it, I really do, is that, I've got loan maturing in 6-7 months. And they're not going to want to hear me when I say come back in 6 months, because they're going to say, what changes? If you're going to use your best efforts and you can make more money leasing them commercial-wise, go get it done. But at the end of the day, I got to be able to tell them something. I can't come back here 6 months from now and say, my loan expires in 2 weeks, and I've got to have an answer because my lender's not extending my loan until we know what the end game is here. Well, the end game is I got to pay my loan back. The only way they're going to extend it is I've got to be able to tell them how I'm going to meet my mortgage payment. So if there's some gray area here, I'd like to set it up that says, go give it your best efforts, and we trust you, and hand us a list of people that you talk to. And if it just doesn't happen in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, I just want to know that there's a line in the sand that says, I can make it happen. It would help me from a flexibility standpoint with, like I said, my lenders and my partners, if we could go down that path rather than saying, if it doesn't work, Tom, come back and see me in 6 months.
What about 3 months? Does that get you to any better of a place?
Councilmember, there's others who haven't had a chance yet. Okay.
So,
Keith,
okay.
you have the floor.
I hopefully I answered your
That was, you did, but is it just as easy to convert to office or retail as it is to residential?
Well, I don't know. We've been trying for a year to rent to office with no success. And like I said earlier, broadening the uses will help. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke. It will help. I just don't know how much. It could be 20%, it could be 80%, it could be 100%. But certainly, we're going to give it the old collegiate try because that's what I promised you guys, and that's where I could possibly make the economics work better on a commercial side than it does on the residential side. But you have to also understand, if I give it the old collegiate level and we collegiate try and we go out and we can't get it done, can't get the ball over the goal line, I've got to be able to say, guys, here's my insurance policy, here's my game plan, here's how I'm going to pay my bills. So telling me to come or asking me to come back in 6 months is problematic for me. If there's some other way to, slice this pie that can help me with my problems, then that's the path I'd like to get at.
What if we had that list and we could table this for 2 weeks and give us the list, and we'll look at who you've been talking to and let Megan persuade them.
Well, in all honesty, right now I'm kind of dead in the water, only because I'm in this no man's land that I can't go out and make commitments because legally and technically the uses haven't been broadened. But at the same token, we've been trying to get office even up to yesterday, and it's just slow. There's just not as a vibrant office. A lot of people want to own their own office. We're finding that.
Well, then you can sell it, right?
Excuse me?
You can sell it, right?
I'll get back there.
Not right now, not the way it's set up. We can't sell an office. We are maybe possibly going down that road to get it to where you can get fee simple, and that might help. I'm not 100%. It's not going to help for everybody. We had one doctor that that's part of the issue with the doctors who want to be there. First of all, most of them want more than what I can give them because the most I can give anybody is 2,600 square feet. They could jump next door and take another bay, but that means it's not all connected internally. And then the other issue we're hearing from these doctors is they want to own it. And I just can't give them either one of them right this minute.
Anything else, Keith?
Nope, thanks.
All right. Steve, anything?
Tom, quick question. So you've only been trying for office in these spaces?
Only.
Just office?
Only. It's the only thing that's permitted.
I mean, they seem like they're nice little compact things that for stores or for other retail stuff. Have you hit that?
Like I said,
have you hit that?
Just broadening the retail component is going to help, in my opinion.
Would this be we've been out there, and obviously a few years now, looking down the road. Do you see this issue popping up anywhere else, or because we've changed a few things around through the years? Is this it for residential?
No, I can't. If you're asking me, do I have plans for additional development?
Turning things that were supposed
No.
to be commercial
This is the only commercial that's left that's approved is this right here.
That's it.
And it can't be restaurants. Much I tell you to be restaurants. It's only 14 feet ceilings and there's no ventilation, no nothing. So when I say retail, although I believe that retail is approved for restaurants, we would get maybe a coffee shop.
Right.
That doesn't have any type of ventilation, doesn't have any cooking facilities.
Yeah.
It would be a mom and pop coffee shop. Come in, read the paper, have a cup of coffee, converse with your neighbors, that type of thing.
Well, for me, listen, we worked together for a long time, and sometimes we're not on the same side, but you're a good man, and you built this place great. And if you come back here, for me, my thought is if you came back here in 90, 120 days and said, look, and like Councilman said, here's the list, we called them all, Megan even tried, and it's not working.
Yeah.
Then we have to look at something.
Right.
You know?
It'll take me more, in all fairness, it'll take me more than 30, 60, 90, even 120 days to get the marketing machine cranked up. So we're really not going to know anything palatable until 5 months, 6 months down the road. I don't want to give you the impression that a lot's going to change in 60 days. It won't happen.
I'm just trying to see what's the right time frame for you. I mean, look, if you're trying multiple things,
I would say
nothing's working,
right.
then nothing's working.
At a minimum, that I would be back here would be 6 months to give it a fair try.
Might as well stay there because I think Councilman Pollack has a question too.
Oh, sorry.
What's the overall square footage of the building, the whole building itself?
Just guessing. It's got 58 units in it. Averaging it's about 1,000. There's 58,000 there, plus the 11. You're 70,000 square feet.
So 70,000 square feet. So this is 16% of roughly 16% of the entire building.
No, I gave you one building. This is actually in two buildings. The total 11,000 square feet is in Building 2 and Building 3.
Okay.
So when I gave you the 70,000 divided by 6,000 or 5,700, just take half of that
Okay,
11,000.
So it's about 10% of the entire building. It's less.
It's probably closer to 8, but yes.
Okay, all right. But so I understand what you're saying with your financing and the issues. What I'm trying to come up with is a way to give you some more flexibility and still keep the mixed use. So if we came up with 5% overall of the building, not of that section, has to be one of these non-residential uses, would that be something you could work with?
Well, sure. You've opened up the door for 3%, which in essence would be, 25% of the overall space. Yeah. It helps. Anything helps. I'm just, like I said, I'm not smart enough to tell you if I'm going to get 11,600 square feet of leases in the next 6 months.
Right.
But if I don't, it helps a lot if I can say to my bankers, whatever I have, I have. And whatever I don't have, we've opened up the door for residential uses. Whether those residential uses are rental or for sale, I don't know. My gut feeling tells me this is going to probably be for sale.
So you'd have a residential unit next to what could possibly be a retail unit on the
Yeah.
ground floor?
That's probably your staff would tell you that's what they'd love to see as far as their mixed-use definition is concerned.
Well,
Bob, you still have the floor.
Sorry.
okay.
That's okay.
So, because I'm just trying to come up with some sort of solution, but I still would like to see some non-residential. I don't want it to be just a
You know,
complete apartment.
And Bob, between you, me, and the wall, I would too. You know, I think it's good for everybody around there, from the apartments that are above, happening down the street, if we, you know, stay the path with the, you know, commercial uses. It's just, I can't guarantee you that 100% of the 11,000 some odd square feet are going to be all commercial uses. I'm going to try everything in my power to make it that way. But I just can't guarantee that. Like I said, at the end of 6 months, if they're all leased, this is an all for naught conversation. And certainly, I appreciate broadening the scope of the uses. That will help.
Right.
I can guarantee. I keep using the example as a yoga instructor. I'm pretty sure that if she doesn't want to come, I'll find somebody else. It's a kind of a
Or he.
Huh? Or he, yeah. It's a hot commodity, and like I said, it just wouldn't be able to come right now under today's permitted uses.
All right.
Mr. Mayor? Got another question whenever.
My turn.
Okay.
Tom, you have 12,000 square feet of office that's supposed to be there that went towards the total minimums. I mean, you're not asking us to eliminate that from the total for Oviedo on the Park, are you?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
85,000 square foot was the minimum of retail office.
Correct.
We're not quite there
No,
yet.
not asking you to modify that, lower
Right,
the
so
bar.
this would be moved elsewhere in Oviedo on the Park.
Yes. It is clear that we will exceed the retail component.
Right, okay. The, you know, the issue with the doctors in the office is obviously, I mean, let's break this down. It's the build-out cost. I mean, is,
Some of it has to do with that. Sure it does.
you know, the hospital's having the same issue with their medical building, and most medical operators in the city are having the same trouble, you know, where build-out costs were budgeted at $50 or $70 a square foot are now $120, $130 for a medical office.
At least. But I also tell you in my defense that there were two offers that we met and gave them $125 in build-out costs, and neither one of the doctors stepped up.
Okay, I can understand that. I can also understand your financing issue, because the banks are going to want to know where the end game is. But, you know, to just eliminate the need for the retail when we're just now going to broaden it for you on a short time frame, to me, doesn't sit right. But what if we did it, if the council considered it, say, for 2 years? For 2 years, you can do just the retail. If it doesn't work in 2 years, well, then you don't even have to come back. Then you just switch it to whatever type of residential you want, but that space obviously has to go someplace else, because now you've got something to take to your bank. Now you have an end game, which is what the bank's looking for.
Well, unfortunately, a lot can happen in 2 years, and that's just from a banking
A lot
standpoint.
can
just-
happen in 6 months.
Well, I know it's too long. I think we're heading down the right path with the solution. If we can make it 12 months, I could probably sell that to my bank.
I don't know if I could live with that, but the rest of the council may. I mean,
You know, that's
two-
just-
2 years is reasonable. I mean, because Acre, well, your Acre Realty, Willow, just has her signs up there now.
Clearly.
And, I mean, so she's just starting the marketing
And
process. It's going to take time.
that's the reason I said we'll
I
get
mean,
no
it's,
viable results for a period of
You know,
4 to 6 months.
Robin had it set up office for a year,
Correct.
so, you know, and it took time to get steam up and get offers coming in for you. And now
to
the
get-
same's going to happen on the retail side, so.
4 to 6 months to get the ball rolling.
Right, and so to go to 6 months isn't going to do anything. To go a year, that's only giving you, 6 months out there in the market. Go 2 years, it gives you 18
Yeah,
months.
but we're going to know within 6 months of the market. Once you get that ball rolling, that machine cranked up, they're either going to come or they're not going to come. There's just no excuse for them not to come. We're done. We're finished. It'll look fine. Everything's finished inside. If they're not going to come in that
That's a-
6 month period, then they're not coming at all.
And that's a very good point you make, though. I mean, your whole time, when you're had these challenges, let's call them, you were trying to rent it while it's under construction. And, folks, have trouble sometimes envisioning what a finished product's going to look like
Valid point.
until it's done. I mean,
Valid point.
I mean, that's just what real estate is. And
Valid point.
so, to just be finishing it now and to give up on the commercial, okay, fine. I can live with that, broaden the scope, can understand that. I just like to give that broadening the scope a little bit more time, because it'll be done.
Well, again, I keep going back to,
I mean, if we could do 2 years, I mean, that's,
it's just too long. I can't sell it at 2
Can you
years.
do
It does
18
me-
months?
Does me no good.
then you don't have to come back here. Or we just leave it the way it is. We'll approve the motion the way it is.
I'll go 18 months with the caveat that you will entertain another request from me if things are not going well in that, 6 to 7, 8 month swath. Because, I get the line in the sand, but trust me when I tell you, when we get this thing cranked up, we broaden the uses, and we're 3-4 months into this marketing campaign, all the realtors are on board, we're doing the gravy train every day, meaning I'm bringing by. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in that 4, 5, 6 month period afterwards. And I'll know. And
not
I
for-
can bring
not
back
for
and say,
anything,
huh?
Not for anything, but retail space is going to rent for twice what residential
That's what I
space
said. That's what I said. It's more economical for me to rent it as commercial. Now, the retail is I'm a little hampered with the retail just because of the ceiling heights and my ventilation issues. So I can't reinvent the wheel there. But there's plenty of retail out there that don't have to have ventilation, don't have to have massive air conditioning requirements, don't need the 3-phase 600 amp panels that I just don't have. So it's more going to be concentrated on what I would call mom and pop, no disrespect to anybody, mom and pop type retail, mom and pop type office. You're not going to get any national guys, nor do I want them over there. But, listen, it helps. Just as long as I can come back and state
You
my
can come back
case.
anytime you want.
Well, I know.
And we can say no anytime.
Huh?
Come back anytime you want.
Well, I know that. I think having a definitive timeline, and I don't know what my bank's going to say about 18 months, but it certainly will help. I'll have to do some dancing around restructuring some loans and a few other things, but at least it has a timeline. At least it helps from that standpoint. But I just want you to remember this conversation. I want to go on record that I reserve the right to come back, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months if it's just not going. Like I said, if I'm 67% leased 7 months from now, you're not even going to hear from me. If I'm 0% leased in 7 months, you're going to hear from me.
Would you like us to have you come back every month and give us a progress report?
No, I don't think it'd do. Like I said, it's going to take 4 to 5 months.
Let me go
to
up
get
and down the
it cranked
dais
up.
one more time, because council member wanted the floor earlier.
Yeah, I did have a question about, you mentioned that you could sell the residential, but that you could not, with the current configuration, sell it as commercial or retail or anything but residential. Is that a legal obligation you locked your own self into, or how did that happen?
Well, I think it's a form of ownership.
So what is it right now? Is it
It's just
condos?
it's a fee simple
For the whole
platted lot.
building? So you would need to make it into
We
condos
would
or
need
something?
to condominiumize it.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what gets the legal ownership to sell it.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And we are heading down that path just to give me more flexibility. So the person who walks through the door saying, I don't want to rent, I want to own, I'll be in a position shortly in the next month or two to say, okay, I could probably make that happen.
No, that's good to
Yeah.
hear. Thank you.
I don't think council cares whether it's rented or owned. You just want to see the use there.
I just want to see you pursuing a variety of options, and if one of the challenges is somebody wants to buy it, sell it.
Listen, I like options.
That's the realtor in us.
Yes.
Bob, do you have anything else?
You hit it on the nail on the head with, I don't care if it's rented or owned. I'm just trying to see a mixed use in there. I mean, my thought is to say, you know, no more than 95% residential for the building, and that's it.
I like the way you're headed. It gives me flexibility.
No more,
to-
but that's it. I mean, I think that, I mean, from a square footage standpoint, I mean, it gives you a little bit additional space for residential, but overall, it still allows our mixed use.
Depending on the percentages, it would either be 1 or 2 out of 6 spaces. So it would be, you know, because each building has 6 office configurations in it right now for a total of 12, getting to the 11,000 some odd. So my gut feeling or my math mind works something like it would be out of the 6, it probably would be no more than 2 heading down your path, which the 95% of the total square footage.
That could be a discussion
Right.
down the road if he comes back.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to give them something more to bring to the bank, and then we're not arguing over, you know, time periods and stuff. We could just say.
I
no
like
more
the
than-
way the councilman is leaning. It helps. It adds flexibility.
I would also like to just hear from Dr. Carrera, just to make sure that my math is working in my head. If you,
Let me go up and down the
Okay.
dais real
Okay.
quick and see if anybody else is interested in that. Steve?
I think his idea is good. I think that you should just not lose confidence in yourself now that you have these other options you can go do. Go try it. Listen, Tom, you know, I say this all the time to the city manager. If you don't win, none of us win. The city, you know, we all have to win for everybody to win. And you're doing a good job out there. What most people don't realize is that that original plan had double, probably, well, you know the numbers better. We talk about it all.
More than double.
More than double, that we're less in homes. If, you know, for me, I know what you want to hear is simply this. If you come back to me in our relationship and the way you work with the city, say, look, here's the list. We've called all these people. We've been at this for 2 years. It's not working. I always tell Brian, we got to get him done. Not that we don't like it. You got to get out of here. We got to get it done. You got to get that place done and over. 11 units, is it going to kill anybody? No. But we would like to see 11 nice little boutiques in there would be nice, too.
So
I
would
gotta
I.
try it. So, you know, have a little confidence. Come back, give us a report in 90 days. Let us know how it's going. He's got a great idea. And just see, now that you have these new options, try to do it. But in the end, I mean, if something ain't working, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. You got to try to do something different.
Listen, you guys are going to keep an open mind, and you're going to open the door, then take the restriction out of it. I'll just live with it as non-residential, knowing that if it's not going the way, you will entertain and you'll listen to me when I come back. And I just can't tell you if it's 3 months, 5 months, or 10 months, but I'm going to give it enough time to see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then I will come back.
So you just asked us just to leave it the way the motion is?
Yeah, because I'm not sure I'll get consensus. I got
Okay.
one councilman heading in one direction, you guys are heading in another, so I'd rather just come back, present my case with some ammunition that says, I've been marketing it, here's my realtor, here's a list of 50 people that we've reached out to contact, and as of now, I'm 10% leased. I mean, I think that will have merit when I come back, whether it's, like I said, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, whatever it is.
All right. I think what the applicant just asked for is that we just adopt the resolution the way it's written.
That would be correct.
Change it to
Don't change the thing right now. No.
That would be correct.
You'd rather come back. All right. All righty. So the motion on the table is to adopt Resolution 3550-18 at the request of the applicant. To do so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Have a great
See you in
evening.
6 months. All righty. Discussion items, we have none. Mr. Cobb, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have one thing to ask you about. At our work session last Monday, you asked me to put together some language regarding the visioning to state in the RFP and in the scope of services about the visioning process would be part of the fiscal year 18-19 budget. And so I did add the language to the scope of services, but when I got to looking at it, I also added it to the instructions to someone who would be responding so that it would be on the very first page. And so you asked me to mention it at tonight's meeting. I sent out the language to everybody last Friday, and I just wanted to see if you had any comments for me, if there's any changes you'd like made or
To be honest, I saw it come over Friday, but it was the weekend and Easter, and
Well, I mean, I can tell you, I kept it very simple. I just said the city plans to include funding in the for the visioning process in its 2018-19 annual budget. Therefore, the city desires to commence the visioning process sometime between October 1, 2018 and September 30, 2019. That was the language I added to both the instructions as well as the scope of
to
service.
be sent out to those who want to respond to the RFP.
Yes, sir. That would be sent out to the different companies.
To address the concerns of Councilman Pollock.
Yes, sir.
Bob, were you okay with that language?
Well, it's better. How far back would we push this timeline if we waited till we got a better feel for the budget, so that we could say more definitively whether we have the money or not? Because I just really hate to go through this whole effort of going out for an RFP and then turn around and say, we had that language in there, and guess what? We don't have the money. Because I just feel like it's going to really impact our integrity overall going forward. I think that we should just wait a little bit longer before we go out for that RFP to make sure that we can, be a little bit more certain. I mean, you're never 100% certain, and I know that most RFPs have language that says that, we have the right to do nothing. But I would at least like to have some sort of funding in place before we go out for this RFP. That's my thoughts on it.
All right, Brian, when are you going to bring that back to us? Next week, next meeting?
As far as
Were you going to bring anything back to us on the language, or when you're going to go out for the RFP where we can have it as an agenda item to discuss it? Or-
I hadn't planned on it. I was thinking
Okay,
whatever
well,
direction
look
you
for
gave
some
me
direction.
tonight, I would proceed. If you want, I think we can hold, we don't have to necessarily go run out and do the RFP right away. I would say that we probably should have it hit the streets sometime in May, would be the latest, I would say, so that if we wanted to try to have it coincide with our budget process. So, but that would probably be the latest, I would
All right,
say.
let me go up and down the dais here and see what comments, brief comments we have on this, and then we'll go from there. Councilmember?
Y'all already know I'd like to prioritize this.
All right. Councilman Britton? Deputy Mayor, excuse me.
That's fine. And Brian, are you taking comments on the statement of work, scope of services?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll get with you later. I just have a few.
Okay.
Councilman Henkin?
Brian, I think Councilman Pollock brought up the key question here. I mean, we sent this out once before, and it didn't go through after we did it, and some vendors got aggravated. So my question is, what date would we know if we can afford to do it? Because it's not cheap. How soon would we, at the last budget thing, I think, did Jerry say the next one we'll have maybe a better grasp is in June? I'd hate for you to send these out and we can't do them again because we didn't look good last time. That's my only issue, not whether we do it or not. We can do it, that's fine, but we send it out in our budget, we just can't get there. That would be one of the first things that you would look to do. So I just want to know when we're going to have a better handle on that before you send it out. I wouldn't send it till we all comfortable that we have it. I don't know what date that is.
Well, I mean, generally, June, July is when we have a good handle on what our revenues are looking like and can give you, yes, council, can start to talk about whether or not this could be something that could be prioritized into the budget. It's usually June or July. Options that we have, that was one of the reasons why I put the entire fiscal year there as far as commencing it, because if we decided, okay, well, we want to wait until January to even start this, well, if we wait till January to start it, then we can push off doing the RFP. We can do the RFP in the fall. So, I mean, but the thing about it is the RFP is going to tell us how much money we're going to need. That's the hard struggle of it all, is that we need to do the RFP to determine how much it's going to cost us in order to program it into the budget.
Now, a lot of the things that you said, I read, council obviously will oversee, but how do you anticipate, how involved the council is going to be on this. Are we going to have to be at every meeting? Are we going to give it to the consultant and let him go do his work for 6 months and then councils get it back? How do you see that playing?
My thinking of this is, one, your first involvement would be as the committee to select the facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you select the facilitator, you're really selecting his program, okay? And then it's going to be up to the facilitator to run that program. So my answer to you on when we actually get into the visioning process would be Steve Hinkin, citizen, would be your participation, which you would choose to do. Now, your next level of participation would be when it's done and the facilitator brings you the finished product and you accept it as city council. I would not, unless you wanted to be deeply involved in the program, I would say no, you don't have to attend every meeting. It would be up to you if you wanted to attend every meeting.
Yeah.
Some folks really enjoy it and will volunteer to facilitate small groups.
No, the point I was trying to get at, you go back to this charter thing. I mean, let's say, this would go on the ballot and pass, and you have 3 new members here that are going to be here for 4 years. I'm just trying to make sure that, if we start it and this body sends a direction, and there's 3 new people here, and next year there's 2 other people, I want to get it right this time. I just don't want to send out some confusion like we did. We had a good program last time. We were just kind of split. I think it was like 3-2. But I think your first step, you have to find out, do we have the money to do it? That's the key. You can't send out an RFP unless we know we have the money. If you tell us we have the money, then I say go fly. That's my thought.
Well, I've been the largest advocate of this for 3 or 4 years now, and there's never a good time, there's never enough money, there's never this, there's never that, but we have got to get the visioning and the goals updated for the city. So this council, future councils, future staffs, have a direction to follow, because the last goals we did 10 or 11, 12 years ago, I mean, most of it's done. That's the issue we face. And now you got to set the next goals, whatever they may be, and they need to involve the citizens. I mean, that's going to be a year-long process. But, I envision this similar to what we did with Oviedo on the Park, where council members weren't actually a part of the downtown study committee. We were observants. We were able to come into the room. We kind of sat in the back. We got to observe what was going on. We got to listen, so that way when it all came back to us, we had a grasp of what it is that the direction was that the citizens were looking at. And, that's what led to the success at the ballot and the success of the project. I mean, the project now, it got off to a rocky start with the economy and the developer, and, that's all water under the bridge at this point. But when you look at what's being created over there, I think that even those in the neighborhood who moved in afterwards and weren't aware of it, and at first were looking at it kind of funny, are now starting to enjoy it and starting to see exactly what it'll be and the impetus it'll be to the historic downtown. But to just keep kicking the can down the road, though, that's.
So what are we going to tell Brian?
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, it seems to me like Brian, you have 2 who are go for it and figure out what it's going to cost, and there's a few who want to have a better idea if you think the money will be in the budget. So I guess the question to ask you that would help us answer your question is, when do you think that could be?
It'll probably be around June. As far as knowing what kind of money we'll have in the budget, I would say it's most likely June.
Right, and we know what the baselines that they came in last time. It was 86,000 to like 140 or something like that, right? The 3 of them.
I think it was like 150 was the max one. No, actually, the
Well,
biggest-
no, there was one that was very
the
proud.
biggest one was 350.
Yeah, there was one consultant who was very, very proud, but, right, but the bulk of them, the 6 of them were,
It was in the 100,000 range.
right, and then we narrowed it down to
150.
3, and if I remember, those were like 86 to 136 or something like that. For,
I don't really remember.
yeah, it was something like that. All righty, so June, you think?
I think we will. We'll definitely have a better idea in June, yes.
Would that give council some comfort if we just waited to hear?
Absolutely. I mean, unless there's some reason why we need to go now.
Well, as I said, if the RFP hits the streets in June, I'm not going to know the cost number until right before you adopt the budget. That's the thing. If we want to try to make it part of the budget process, then I would say, yes, I need that extra month in May. I need to have it hit the streets in May so that we can have it work through the budget process.
Well, can we work through the budget process with the costs that we received from the previous one?
I wouldn't recommend it because those costs were 2015, and I also added the community profile, which wasn't part of the original RFP.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, and Bob's getting to where I was leaning towards, too. If we wait till June, I think we got to take the time between now and then to, for lack of a better word, maybe reverse engineer the scope of work and try to put some hours in each task at what we think, hours-wise, it might take a consultant to do that task, and then we can go plug some numbers in on what we think their fees are going to be. Across the river over at the Cape, we don't do anything unless we have our own independent estimate to compare what we're getting from it. And maybe this is a good time to start doing that with the city.
Okay. Mr. Cobb, is that something that we may be able to strive towards?
To be honest with you, Mayor, I can't answer the question because
Mr.
we've
Booth
never
can
tried
figure
it
it out.
before.
You can do that, can't you? Yes, you can. I know you can.
Is there a way to just get like an indicative price? Just some, where they don't have to put in a full RFP?
We may have a friend we can reach out to.
Because I just have issues with.
You got to remember, if you plug a fictitious number in, it's awful funny. That's the number the study will cost. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's what
Oh,
happens.
yeah. If they know what the
Everything we
budget's
do,
gonna be, that's what
everything
the
we
cost
do
will
is
be.
public record. So he makes the budget, he plugs in 175K. It'll be funny. Every proposal will come in at 175K.
Let's make it 130K or 100K.
Well, I get your point, but
Well, I mean, the only other option, and I don't know how to go about doing this, is some level of assurance that if we go out for an RFP, that we award some level of it. But I hate to do that because we don't know what the budget's going to look like, and right now, the way the budget was presented to us at the last budget meeting, it doesn't look that great. So.
it never looks that great the first time. Don't be scared.
I know, but this is only my second one, so I can say that.
Well,
Every
Councilman,
year
how
I've
about
been
I
up
do
here,
thi-
it's
how
doom
about I
and
do
gloom
that?
in March.
Deputy Mayor Britton mentioned that there was some things that he wanted to talk to me about on the scope. How about we do this? If you all have any input as far as the scope, send
Come
it
back
to
to
me.
us in
I'll
April.
make revisions as necessary, and then I'll bring it to you the first meeting in May, and you all can bless it, and you can decide if you want to make that a priority. And if you make it a priority, then that's how we'll carry it through the budget process.
All right, so sounds like Mr. Cobb is suggesting we give him input. He'll work on some of the issues Deputy Mayor is bringing up, and Councilman Pollack, feel free. And let's see if we can get some consensus on what to do in May. All right, Brian, anything else?
No, sir, that's all I had.
Mr. Groot, you're up.
Yes, sir. I just have one thing. Y'all might remember you recently went through the leasing process on the city's telecommunications tower. There's another tower that has come up for a lease renewal, and Mr. Cushy is working on it. And it's the one at the sports complex. The attorney a great person who worked on the last project, Mr. John Pessel. He's from the Barnum Law Firm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he's renowned working with local governments. He is the local government guru. The issue has arisen, however, is that Mr. Pessel is semi-retired. Although his law firm's in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he lives in Tucson, and in his most recent engagement proposal, he's been very candid, and that he said, I'm semi-retired. I spend a lot of time with my family. I travel a lot with my wife. We've got family needs, and I'll do my best to pay attention to my job. And I mean, it's very candid. But my hourly rate is still $450 an hour, which made me think that maybe it'd be better to try to find someone, A, local, and B, who's not going into retirement. The search was hard because a lot of your major firms represent cell tower companies, and therefore they're conflicted out.
So you want to search for...
I've already done it, and I've gotten recommendations from various local governments throughout the state, and there's a consensus on one person, and they don't have any conflicts, and the hourly rate is $275. He's local, he's young, but he's also from Gray Robinson. And that's what I want to present to you, whether or not, his name's Gary Resnick. He's out of the Fort Lauderdale Gray Robinson office, and that's who I would like to bring to you on behalf of Mr. Cushy to be engaged, but I'd either like you to think about it, and have it brought back to you next time, or if you have any impressions at this point in time, you could clearly make them. No.
Let me see what the council thinks. I mean, personally, Gray Robinson, Fort Lauderdale, whatever, that's fine if that's the expert in the field. Council member? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I concur. If he's the guy who knows how to do it, let's use him.
Councilman Pollock?
Does this doesn't, making a decision like this, does that conflict with any kind of a bidding or purchasing policy, or because it's so specific, we can choose whoever we
Legal
want?
services are basically exempt from purchasing.
Okay.
And I made the search, I can tell you that, and he is the person in the state that, and he would be with the city for a while, assuming he does a good job on this particular negotiation. So.
I think it's great. I must not be privy to the history with why it's an issue with Gray Robinson.
Well, Gray Robinson, on the one hand, is the city.
Well,
You're in litigation.
well, but, okay.
Okay.
I think it's two separate entities.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, I'll go down to you.
Your Honor, if you've researched it and you've looked at it as carefully as I know you look at things, I think it's fine. Gray Robinson, there might be a few little issues, but they do a good job for us in other areas, and, I think it's good. I agree.
I'll go down to the current Deputy Mayor.
Well, I wanted to think about it, but it looks like the consensus is to go ahead with it. I've got the issue with the litigation, but there's some smarter people up here than I am on that, so I'll go along with it.
Huge firm, right?
It's a big firm.
A large firm is compartmentalized. He is a specialist.
Lonnie, if it sounds like you have consensus.
All right, thank you so much.
Anything else, Lonnie? Mr. Grid, anything else?
No, sir, I'm sorry.
Oh, no? Okay. All righty, communications and reports. I'm up first. I'll be brief. Taste of Oviedo was when we were all on vacation. It was March 10th. They had a tremendous turnout over there at the mall, so I hope the Chamber of Commerce had an excellent event. I haven't heard anything back from them, but I think attendance looked to be pretty good, wasn't it, Chief? Yeah? Okay.
It was when I was there.
Yeah, me too. It was packed, and it's nice to be back after having almost the whole month of March off, and I'll announce future meeting dates. We're back onto a regular schedule right after this. So that'll be the end of my report. We'll keep the evening brief tonight. Councilman Pollock, you're up.
All right, so I've got a list. No, just kidding.
Do you really have a list?
No, just a short.
Let's see.
The town hall
You're
meeting
not
went.
too far, I can. hit you.
I really appreciate everybody that worked on the town hall meeting that we had. I think it went well. The attendance was a little low, but I think that goes to say what the citizens think of the safety right now. They think that if it was the other way around, I would be more concerned. So I think great job. Please let your staff, all your staffs know that it was, I appreciate everything they did for that. I participated in the food truck Thursday that just happened. I got to say, the park it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. I mean, on that, we walked, my daughter and I walked from the food trucks over to Starbucks and back, and going down the row over there with all the new retail and restaurant space, and it's starting to really get that feel that we're looking for. Dogs playing in the park, kids running around everywhere. It was great. It's what we're looking for, and Drew, your staff is doing a great job with all that.
Anything else?
That's it.
Councilman Henkin, you're up.
Just two quick things. Bob, that was a excellent meeting that you called. I wouldn't worry about the low attendance. What was great about, and for those of you that don't know, Councilman Pollock organized a meeting with the sheriff, police chief, Captain Francis, who's in charge of all the security for the schools, and we got to hear some things, but not everything. But in a nutshell, our schools here in Seminole are probably 5 years ahead of any other district in the state on security. They have some cutting-edge stuff. They got some good people running it. You never know what a day brings, but if you're in Seminole County, you got the best of the best watching over the schools. So that was a very good thing that you brought up. We all learned a lot of stuff, so that was a good one. And then just in closing, it's always a little difficult when you have new members come onto a body. It's kind of like, you get the new dog or the new cat, and he's got to get used to the family. But one thing you always have to remember up here, as long as I've sat here with many members, and Councilman Britton and Dominic have been here for a long time, never lose sight. If we don't all win, nobody wins. And nothing is political, Everybody comes in. When I was here, I think these two guys will attest. When I first came here, I was like head of steam, try to get all this stuff. I had council members here, other
What you wanted was sirens.
Right, and we did.
Cemetery.
Yeah, and the cemetery hasn't come yet, but I give up on that. But, nothing, at least for me, and I don't think for anybody else, nothing is ever political, and don't let social media and all this stuff drive what you do up here. This is a family, the whole city, and if you lose a vote or whatever, you just, you walk away and you did the best you could that night. And you don't get on social media and start trashing decisions and stuff. I've lost a lot through the years, and you know what I do? I'm like, whatever, okay? Because I truly believe that the masses always get it right. And if 3 or 4 say that's the way we're going to go, and I didn't like it, whatever. I don't go on Facebook, or I don't pay attention to any of this garbage that goes on here. So you hold your head up high up here, and you make good decisions, and nothing is political. If we don't go in one route on one thing, whatever. Just know that we are in, one of the best places anywhere. I grew up in New York, great city, but I'll tell you what, I'm not going back. I want to be right here when the stuff hits the fan. So. But the 5 of us, and whoever comes up here in November and next November, we've got to stay together, and don't argue about things, and don't make it political. And honestly, you guys know I'm not a Facebooker and social media. Stay off that garbage, because that's what it is. It's garbage. Everybody goes on there and types stuff and causes dissension. Don't let it get to you. Just make good decisions for the city. The city will be proud of you, and I think the city, for the most part, is proud of everything our staff and everybody does. So. I see some things going a little stray here. Don't fall to the temptation to throw the stones. We're in a good place, in a really good place, with a great staff. I talked to our old finance director, Robin, the other day. She is in Mount Dora. And I would say she got her training here, so to speak, and she is doing wonderful out there. We're in a good place. So don't let the political decisions drive the wedge. Just keep going, and we're on our way to a special place. So, yes, am I telling you all to delete your Facebook accounts tonight? Yes, I am. That'd be good. All good.
Anything else?
Good.
Councilmember Slater, you're up.
All right, a couple of things. The Oviedo Gathering happened March 24th on a Saturday. A lot of groups did a lot of really good volunteering around town, and I was part of one that did some trash pickup in the Reed Road area, which also coincides with ION. There was also an ION meeting this past Thursday. ION stands for Improving Our Neighborhoods. There is a cleanup happening April 21st. We're starting to get geared up for that, and there's going to be 5 dumpsters involved. Anybody who likes to pick up trash, even half as much as me, I hope you will come out there and help us get this area cleaned up. But it's called Healthy Earth Day, because it is actually on Earth Day, which is April 21st, so save the date. Also wanted to check on the status of not accepting streetlights that are not owned for future city projects. Have we had any resolution on that, or could we potentially, I don't know if it needs to be a discussion item or if this is something that can be handled at the staff level?
Mr. White and I have already started talking about how to do it, and we're still working through that. We think it may require a Land Development Code amendment. It also gets back to, we're thinking that maybe we include that as part of the dedicated improvements to the city, so that the city would own it outright. So we are trying to figure out how to get there, and but right now we haven't gotten far enough along for me to bring you back and say, hey, I've got a way to do it yet. We're still working through it, but we have started the discussions, and we think making it part of treating them as infrastructure, like we would the streets, like we would water, like we would sewer, the drainage areas, those types of things, treating them in the same light, that we think that we may be able to pull that off.
Cool, thank you. On the charter issue, there's 2 angles to this, and one of them is just, I want to make sure that you guys realize that since 2002, every single charter review, there have been, I believe, 3 citizen committees that have reviewed the charter. And every single one of them, when the process did not seem intellectually honest or politically pure, I threw a stinker fit. So this time, please know that's no different. I am doing the same thing I've done for 15 years.
But that's your opinion.
Agreed.
All right, as long as you make it your opinion.
It is my opinion, and I get that 4 of 5 people think that we can skip that process. When I brought this up back in December, I actually liked it. It was my idea to switch 4-year terms and all this and some of this other stuff, but I did not envision us skipping the part where we ask somebody who's not sitting up here and who will be directly impacted by it to give us a little bit of outside perspective. So just to, one thing, I'd like us to set a date for the Charter Review Committee to meet. If it could be April 16th, the earlier the better, I think, to start getting people involved. And would also like to suggest that we add more than the 1 item, because I think there genuinely are more items that ought to be addressed. One of those is to address how often the charter ought to be amended. The charter says every 5 years. And I propose that since we didn't notice that we hadn't amended it for 3 years, or I guess it'd be 2 years until I brought it up in December, that maybe every 5 years is too often. And what the appropriate length of time is, I don't really know. And I don't know that I can, from this side of the dais, think about it from a very level-headed perspective. Which is why I think it would be nice to, well, it's too late now, but that's why I had recommended bringing 2 more people up here that could bring that balance. Another item that I think would be sensible to include is perhaps adding a provision to the charter that the council itself cannot be the charter review committee in the future. I don't know if that one will get any traction with you guys, but I think, since we're at now, it might add a little bit of genuineness to the process if we said, well, we'll do it this time because we really feel like it's a limited question, but in the future, we are committed to reviewing the charter less often and doing it in a way that is as detached from any potential of political taint. And the last charter change that I think would be a very sensible one is changing when the when qualification is. Right now, qualification is in August, so that leaves, is that 2.5, 3 months from when a person says, yeah, I'm running, to the time when everything happens on the ballot. By then, that person has missed pretty much the entire budget process, and as citizen Megan, I would like to know who's planning to run, and if somebody is, say, not running again, I want to see who is paying attention to the budget and who really is going to make an effort to do the job. Because it's one thing to run, and, oh, it's fun to run, but what happens if you get elected? Like, I think it would improve the quality of our candidates and probably add to continuity at the staff level and management level if we could, as people are deciding not to run, know about it soon enough to bring them in. So those are the three things. When qualifying happens, and then thinking about how often we review the charter changes. And then the third thing, well, I guess this is a separate request. Since we missed charter review in 2015, and we did have it in 2025 or 2005 and 2010, we missed it in 2015, so we're doing just one this time. We're due again in 2020 to stay on track. In the past, when we have missed, we have not just said, oh, well, we did it in 2017, so now we're going to go to 2022. We've just gone back and said, well, we meant to do it every 5 years. So whatever, if we can get some of these brought in now, that might be sufficient, but as an alternative, I propose we perhaps think now about when do we need to create an actual citizens charter review committee to have something ready that's provided, that's created and generated by not us. Because much as we represent the people, we are not the masses. And the masses should determine how they want to govern. And then once we're here, it's really hard to think about, well, how theoretically should we be governed? This is the equivalent, or the charter is the equivalent of our Constitution. So that's my 2 cents, and I appreciate you listening to me pontificate on that.
Report's over?
That's it.
Deputy Mayor.
I think you guys covered everything I was going to talk about tonight, so I'll pass on the report.
Great. Just so everybody knows, in 2015, the city staff came to the city council and asked us if we wanted to do a charter review. The city council at that point in time said there was no need to do a charter review, which is the way our charter's written. So it wasn't that we skipped it. And, one last thing, and I'm going to end the meeting with this because
it says shall. It doesn't say may. The words of the charter read shall.
Okay, I have the floor.
I understand.
Thank
Let's be accurate in our words.
All right, we can beat this dead horse as much as we want. You brought this up to us. We all decided that we would talk about it. Then when we decided to do it, you realized it didn't benefit you. Then you asked if we would do a top 3 vote getters, and then you could support it.
Well, that's not even legal to do. I asked if it was possible.
That's what you said right there to us.
I did.
You said, I could support this if the top 3 vote getters were one.
No, there was no if about it. I mean, this goes back to when you had the city attorney sue me 15 years ago?
Here we go, folks. Here it all comes. Let's see, were you not intercepting our emails?
No, I was not intercepting emails, and I did not blackmail you, and I was, the city dropped the suit.
All right, we're gonna end
and
the
here I sit.
Yeah, we're gonna end the meeting now. Megan, I'm gonna leave you with this. If you ever were lucky enough to become the mayor and sit in the center, you're really gonna have to centralize yourself just a little bit more. You've got to get people to work with you. Your issue becomes is that you're right, everybody else is wrong all the time. And you just can't do this that way.
The charter says what it says. I'm irked that you don't want to acknowledge it.
Listen, can I just say one thing?
Go ahead,
You
then
want
I'm
to end it,
ending
but I
the
just have to say, listen, this goes back to what I said before, okay? So there's some differences of opinion, but I do have to say, this whole charter thing, I mean, if you want to pull this 4-year term off,
I don't want to pull it off. I want to add more.
All right, but whatever. I'm saying you brought it up. Nobody said anything for a year about the charter. The staff does bring it to us. I have one of the best city attorneys on the planet who's reviewed our charter and said it's one of the cleanest ones. He represents cities all over. Lots of stuff. There's really not anything pressing, but I am going to agree with the mayor on this. I believe, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but I'm going to say it. You should have been running in November, and you've changed your seat to run against the mayor. You're all over the place.
I'm not all over the place. I changed one time because I realized that there is no way that the current situation up here is not productive. If I run again and am reelected, and all of us are still sitting here, that is not a win. I did not come here to poke you guys in the eye. I came here to try to affect change and try to make the process a little bit more user-friendly.
And that's good, but all this stuff with the terms and the changing of office, you should have just, honestly, you should have just ran for your own seat, and you would have been fine. It's a
Well, I would have been fine. You guys wouldn't have thought that the solution, instead of being elect people to a 2-year term in 2019 and then a 3-year term in
Listen, I'm going to be
2022,
honest with you. For me personally, I'll stay on my 2-year term because, you know what? I won 7 of them in a row.
you didn't actually have to run. You guys had challenges for the first time in 10 years this last season.
Doesn't matter. And
Guys,
then even with all the outside...
I agree with the mayor. This is not productive.
Even with all the outside influence that you exerted, I still won, so...
I exerted no outside influence.
Stop it. All of this. I mean, come on. This is... Sat here a long time, guys, No disrespect. This is the way it was 20 years ago when I sat here. It was so nice for 12. Things were done, peace in the community. You have your election in November and nothing changes with these seats. What makes you think anything's going to change for you in 2019? I just don't get it. But you know what? I respect your right to do it. You're a citizen of the city, so let's move on. It's just amazing, though, because you would sit here with the same 4, except as the mayor doesn't chair unless the mayor can build consensus amongst everybody. I mean, it would be worse. I'm just letting you know. But anyway, future meeting dates. Monday, April 16, 2018, 6:30 p.m. regular session. Monday, May 7th, 5:30 p.m. we have an executive session. Monday, May 7th, 6:30 p.m. we have a regular session. Mr. Kopp, what's the topic of that executive session?
This is going to be the negotiations with the fire union.
Okay, something's coming back. All right, great. Monday, May 21st, 5:30 p.m., CRA Governing Board meeting, and Monday, May 21st, 2018, 6:30 p.m., regular session. Mr. Cobb, do you have anything else for us? Good
No,
deal.
sir, I do not.
Mr. Groot, anything?
No, sir.
All righty. Barbara? Okay, we're good. We're adjourned.